Hello.
Nice to meet you, Paul.
And you, and you. Want to come through into the make room, make some Ricky Sticky Buns?
Fantastic.
Why did it just vanishes away?
Got to keep nice and clean.
We'll be rolling it out into a rectangle.
Yeah.
We're spreading over our cinnamon filling, and then we're going to roll it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Then chop pieces in 2-inch portions, turn them over, and they will look like this, only that big. So they've grown in our proving cabinet, so they're expanding.
Yeah.
We need to put the topping on, and then they'll go into the oven. And here are Ricky Sticky Buns, ready for topping. Okay, so we've got to put the, we call it the Ricky Sticky Goo.
Yeah.
That's going to go on the top, and then we'll do that in the other room, so it'll be easier. And then we'll come back in here, and they're going to go into that oven there for about 12, 14 minutes or so.
Okay.
So this is our.
We're going to actually cover them over.
Yes, so I'll do 9 and then you can do 9.
Right, well, then I'll
So this Ricky Sticky Goo, this is a mixture of honey, butter, glucose syrup, sugar and pecans.
Special.
Yeah, so it's kind
Special
of
recipe.
a special recipe that's kind of created. And what happens is we put a dollop onto the top and actually push it down a little bit. So not too heavily, otherwise the buns will collapse. Yeah. But we press it down, we find that way, if we just lay it on the top, it pops, the buns pop up and throw off the topping. So this helps for us, for the toppings to stay there. And the beauty of this topping is as it bakes, it kind of, because you've got the butter, the cream, the sugars in there, it sort of turns into a kind of soft toffee kind of consistency, which actually seeps through, runs down in the gaps, and creates a kind of a toffee base to it as well. So yeah, it's not enough. So we don't want to be too cautious. Yeah. So a generous amount.
Right, here we go. About that much.
Yeah, that's kind of top heavy. That's it.
Right. Somebody's going to be lucky.
Yeah, rather more than over than under.
So how many of these will you make in one sitting, more or less?
We still do more cinnamon buns, so we'll do generally during the weekday we do a couple of trays of these. A lot more people buy a box to take home for family and stuff. So, I mean, it's fantastic, you know, because it's a product that you wouldn't have been buying unless we were making them. It's not a product that you can buy anywhere.
So these are now going into the oven?
They are indeed. So if we go back to where we took them out, they'll be in for about 12 minutes. Right.
That's the grower and that's the baker.
Yeah. That's kind of like a steam room. Yeah. So it introduces heat and moisture, and yeasted products, it produces the perfect environment for them to grow. When they get to the right height, then they go into the oven. We've got our ingredients in the bowl. In there we've got flour, we've got salt, sugar, and a little bit of fat there. We've got some milk powder to go in. We've got yeast, fresh yeast, and we've got some butter as well.
Right.
If you want to tip them in. Yeah.
Nice one, Les.
Skim milk powder. If you just spread it over the top. Got some softened butter. So you just scoop that into there.
Spread it around.
Yeah. That's all right. That's going to get blended in. The reason why we need to spread the milk powder around is because if it stays on top of the flour, it goes lumpy.
Yeah.
So we need to get that blended through quickly, rather than kind of just leaving it sitting there. That's fine. And then what we'll do is we'll just let that stir, just to mix that milk powder in. Otherwise, like I say, we can have lumps forming. Okay. So whilst that's turning around, we need to weigh some water.
Okay.
Everything a baker does is weigh ingredients and being sort of meticulous in what I do gives you consistency. If you've got a good recipe and it's weighed precisely in grams, in theory you cut out a big chunk of where the problems occur.
Okay,
So
fantastic.
we need 588 grams of water. Hello, Nina.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm very excited. Am I allowed in?
You are indeed.
So hello,
Oh,
excited.
Too much.
that's fine. So just pour some back into there. And then
Hello,
we can
Nina.
readjust it.
Hello, Les. You're doing a grand job. It's nice to see a man at work, isn't it?
Oh, look at that, nearly. 188.
That, is that 19 or is that 7 or? No. Oh yeah. 7 more.
Does he cook at home?
Nope. Bit back.
He had to run
Oh, it has to be really precise, isn't it? Wow,
Okay.
I love it.
30 minutes later.
Is it one of those cars that goes round?
my arm could be aching by the time
Next
it
shot, I've
was
got a
ready.
beard.
590, is that
580, no, we'll let you off one, yeah. Okay, I'll leave one behind. So that's stirred,
Yeah.
and now we need to add yeast. That's into the bowl.
Is this anywhere, just all?
Yeah, that can be just thrown in. And then the rest of the water.
The water. Right, and here comes the water.
Putting my secrets on it. Trade secret.
Leave that little one bit
That
there.
one, you know. Okay. And then the beauty of this machine is it does the work for us. But if we were doing this by hand, we'd just be stirring this in one of these plastic bowls.
Yep.
And this is what the machine's doing now. It's just stirring it so it starts to combine the ingredients, because we've got quite a few there that need to be really well distributed. And then once it starts to hold itself as a dough, we then turn the speed up and then it goes faster. And then that will take about 4 minutes on the machine when it goes on to fast speed.
Right.
If we were doing that by hand, we'll be kneading that on the table, and
It'll take a lot longer.
it will take a lot longer.
It'll be a
So
lot more physical.
it will be a lot more
You
physical.
get worn out.
You get worn out, and we still got work to do afterwards. So we'll let the machine take the strain for the first bit. But we would be doing it on the table by hand for probably up to 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. To knead a dough, one of the biggest problems with home baking is the inconsistencies coming from weighing, but also most people don't knead the dough thoroughly enough. The official baker's league.
That's the official
Yeah. So it's like that. Cross the legs,
that's
hold
it.
like that, and then that one.
Official baker's league.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good one. I'll have to look.
Working hard.
Look at that. See the way it's come up now, look.
Yeah. So now that's all holding together, and you've probably all heard of gluten.
Yes.
So within the flour you have protein.
Yeah.
The more the dough's pulled apart, stretched and torn, it starts to form this gluten. And the gluten is the elasticity of the dough. So it's like creating millions of balloons in your bread dough.
Yeah.
The yeast is going to make the gas, but if nothing's there to hold on to it, it all disappears to the environment and your bread is just a heavy mass. So by creating the gluten, you'll then allow the bread to expand but hold there as well.
This is really exciting. Oh my god, Ricky Sticky.
Okay.
So this is testing whether it's ready.
If you were doing this by hand, like I say, after 10 minutes, 3 people would have a dough maybe feeling at different stages.
Right.
So what we aim for is we call it the window pane test, where you can stretch a piece of dough and then gradually, just imagine when you blow up a balloon, you can then see through it. So you can see now, you can see my fingers?
Yes.
Yeah?
Wow,
So that's the
yeah.
gluten holding the dough together. Yeah.
So that you know that it's done when
That's
it's at
done.
that point.
Yeah.
I want to lie down
Yeah.
now.
Now, that ringing is our buns. Now, they won't be ready, but they'll be worth looking at.
All right.
So you can see them bubbling away, but there isn't much colour on the top, just starting to take some colour.
Yeah.
Okay. But you see that it's pouring over the side. We always have to bake them on paper because it's such a messy process. But that's the good of it for you. So it's going to need a few more minutes in there. So we'll carry on working in the background.
Okay.
We now need to chop the dough.
So did you just
We
weigh
do.
that? Why did you just weigh it?
Because I want to chop it in half.
Right. I
So
see.
about
Right.
1080 will be enough for one each.
Right. I got you.
So 1080. So see how you do by chopping it in half. See how close you get.
Bakeries.
Oh, really?
Yeah. See your judgment.
Used to be good at judging things. Used to be. Say that. 1080.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it really good? Oh,
Right. Might just be a little bit heavy, this one.
Well, that's not bad, is it? 113.
108.
So you're 50 out.
50 out.
There you go.
Wow.
So if we take 50 off them,
Take 50 off. Or do you
yeah, you could sort of like trim a bit off.
put on?
108. There we go.
Right.
So 1 each.
1 each.
Okay.
Right.
Now, bowl of flour each
Yeah.
and a rolling pin each.
Right.
And the way, if I can just explain and show you what we do, we want to aim for a rectangle. So in theory, if we kind of press it down as a rectangle and try and keep it pretty consistent, we will achieve what we're aiming for easier. Okay.
Okay. Right.
So you can be quite firm with it, but try not to rip the dough. And I do a lot of this by kind of using the flats of my hand. So it's kind of like using the rolling pin. And then more rectangly. That way.
Oh, rectangle.
Because we're going to go,
Oh, I
we can
see.
go more that way.
Right, I'm
To that
thinking
one,
a square, aren't I?
Okay.
Is that one, yeah? I've got some of that, haven't I?
Yeah, you can go.
Is that too much or not?
No, but what you can do, try and do this, is actually
Right.
flick it, and then you'll get a finer. Okay. So when you
Wow.
do any rolling, Les,
Yeah.
always start from the middle.
Yeah.
Never go from one end to the other because you
Right.
don't really achieve much. So if
Yeah.
you go from the middle outwards, and then back to the middle, and then back towards yourself, you'll find you'll move that dough a lot further.
Towards myself.
Yeah.
I'm losing my shape.
Yeah, that's right. And then, but keep shaping it with your hands, and then we'll go this way. There, and back there.
A workout, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, so
So what we can do now, yeah, because it needs a bit of flour underneath. That's what we're lacking.
Yeah.
Now we can go that way, that way.
That way, that way.
Yeah. Now that buzzer, Les, is our buns, and we can take them out. So
Right.
if you do your bit going back, and then we'll go and take those buns out. So there we go. And you can see them really bubbling. Now, this is going to sound a bit weird,
Yeah.
okay, but products which have a lot of sugar and
Yeah.
fats in them, they're liable to collapse, okay? So to prevent them from collapsing, if you bang them,
Yeah.
it actually prevents them from collapsing.
Really?
Yeah, so if I literally bang them,
I don't think I ought to do that.
No, no.
and then we'll just leave them in there to and then where you've got some on,
Yeah.
turn it over,
Put some on the other
put
side.
some on that side, and leave it that way, and then carry on rolling it that way.
Alright. So carry on rolling from the middle.
Always from the middle.
Yeah. Mine getting to be too long.
No. You see, we're aiming to be 36 inches, so at the moment you're 26.
Right, so I've got to go quite a bit more. Right?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if we don't quite get there, because when we roll it up,
Yeah.
it will actually move longer anyway. So,
Should I
so
go that way?
what I
Go this
recommend,
way,
yeah, a bit more flour,
Yeah.
and then if we turn that over, because
Right.
it's starting to tie it again, so see there's no flour at all in there,
Yeah.
so that's going to start sticking,
Yeah.
and then give it a bit more either way again.
Right. I can't move around. You've got yours so big, so quickly.
I don't think we ought to have that on tape.
We're kissing.
Join together, Johnny.
You'll have 72 inches then.
Oh, you're listening.
It's coming out of it now. I still can't get around
Nothing
yours.
gets past me.
It's a good shot compared to mine. Mine's a...
And then, because how you'll have to do this is you'll have to do a bit there, there, there,
Right.
and then work it.
Right.
So I'm pushing it.
Ah.
Gradually we're getting up to the middle there.
Oh, that's going to be.
Yeah.
I was getting a bit worried, wasn't I?
So if you go-
doing that on your one.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to do that. Well, I think it's strong. So if you start working your way down that path,
Right.
do that bit.
Okay. All right.
That's it. In there.
It's a bit out of shape there. Look. Can I get you?
That's not bad at all, actually. Yeah. So yeah, if we give that a good dusting.
Oh, very professional.
This is the bit I don't.
That's not bad at all now.
Just turn it over. It's frightened. Yeah. Like doing a pancake.
So what I reckon
Yeah.
now, if we just go a bit that way, and then we
Right.
can start putting on the filling.
Right. A bit that way. That way. Good.
Okay. I think that's pretty good.
Is it?
It's not bad at all.
Don't look as
Surprised. Not bad at all. Okay. So ideally we have square edges as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and in theory, if it feels like an even thickness,
Yeah.
that's a good sign as well. Because when we roll it up into a sausage,
Yeah,
you know, if there's more dough this side to that side, obviously
Show it all.
it's going to be obvious then. Okay.
So does that
So
look-
that's not bad at all. Yeah, that's something we can start working with. So the next job is our cinnamon filling. Okay, so this is a mixture of butter, sugar, and cinnamon. So, all we're going to do now is cover this in our filling, and we'll leave this kind of bottom edge, but we'll go close to the top. And if I start to see if it, yeah, that's okay. Well, I don't want it to be too hard for you to be able to spread it, but more and carry on going all the way across. Yeah, you can start now.
Put it on the back there.
It's like plastering a wall, really.
It is a little bit, isn't it? Yeah. Is it supposed to bend that much?
What?
No.
Yeah, these are flexible.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. I'll sit for your tea.
What a great idea. I didn't realise it.
Right.
It's much better if you actually press down this edge so it's thinner,
yeah.
because the thinner will actually taper and then it'll fit
gotcha,
neater.
yeah. Yeah.
Plus we're going to spray it with a little bit of water as well, and that will help it to stick. Okay. With the spray, just lightly,
Yeah.
just don't want to actually saturate it and the
So-
table as well, just very lightly.
Is that enough?
Yeah, that's plenty. Now, we're going to be rolling out kind of like a Swiss roll, but there's going to be a lot more rolls
Yeah.
than a Swiss roll. And
Wow, this is going to be
so
interesting.
we're taking that edge
Yeah.
and I'm rolling it, but I'm kind of pushing it back and rolling. So it's kind of like slightly stretching it a little bit.
Am I too big there? Is that alright?
No, that's fine, that's fine. Because we want to have it pretty tight
Yeah.
so it holds its shape. And then
Right,
work
yeah.
your way all the way to the edge. That's it. Now start back over here again. When you're rolling it up,
Yeah.
try to keep that edge
Yeah. Nice.
straight, and then the same over here.
Oops, nearly went off.
You smiled at the camera.
Right.
Never mind about looking at the camera.
Very good. So come right down so it's nearly touching the edge.
Yeah.
Make sure that's in pretty much of a straight line, because what we want to do is we want to have that join sitting at the bottom. So then
Right,
go right to the end. Right. So we're aiming for 36. Yeah, don't worry. Because if straight away, if you just pick that up,
Right.
yeah, I've virtually got there already.
Right.
So if you roll it over and then look at it and see where it's a bit thinner, we can just pull a bit across.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you keep an eye on that to there, so you want to end up it being 36 inches long
Right.
and the same thickness all the way along.
Right.
Then I normally kind of just run my hand along it just to see if there's like some really obvious chunky bits,
I see.
and then we can move that along.
Fantastic.
Okay?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. We're getting there, because that's going to be at the bottom. And what I do is I mark all the way along every 2 inches, do them all,
Yeah.
and then I move that out of the way, and then to cut them through, don't press down, actually saw through
yeah.
it as if you were sawing a piece of wood. When you cut through,
Yeah.
make sure you cut through dead straight. Because if you cut at an angle, they topple over as they grow. Yeah. Being in health and safety, you're not going to cut your fingers.
Oh, I might do. No guarantee of that. Right, so now it's a matter of sawing them off.
Sawing
is it?
through.
Here's some I made earlier. How's that?
Fantastic. No, that's fantastic, Les. Well done. Okay, no, we haven't finished yet.
No.
Because
Be square.
to end up in here,
Yeah.
this is what we now do. So we have these special trays. But the whole process is based around the configuration of the tray. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it determines the weight of the dough, etc. So with this baking paper,
Yeah.
we put them in like so, into the corners, and then 3 by 3.
Yeah.
And if I just do the whole tray, so you put in 9,
Yeah.
and then just gently tap on the top, just so they're pressed down at the bottom and they're flat.
Yeah.
If you do it hang over the table, it will
Right.
tear easier.
It tears like that.
Here you go downwards.
Go downward. Right.
Yeah. So from that relatively small bit of dough, yeah, better that way, yeah. From that relatively small amount of dough, we've ended up with 36 buns. For the last one.
Working off here.
Okay, want to look up a minute.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, and they all
You
look
never
pretty
know.
much the same thickness. You've got 18 out of there. Perfect. So, in theory now, if we want to
Yeah.
bake these off, they go into that steam room cupboard.
Yeah.
They're going to be in there for about 40-50 minutes.
Right.
When they're that as big as what we had before,
Yeah.
exactly what we just did, we put the topping on into the oven for sort of 12-14 minutes. And that's it. No, it's it. But, you know, for home baking, this is the perfect thing to use. Yeah, perfect. So,
Right. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So is that finished with the baking? Or what?
that's, yeah, that, because
That's
I'm
it.
going to put those, we've got a little fridge here.
Yeah.
I'm going to put these in the fridge because putting them in the fridge just makes them stop growing.
Yeah.
So they just remain dormant until we want to use them. So we'll probably either bake them off later or they'll be baked off tomorrow morning.
Look at that.
Right.
No, I have done it. We do we call it our lessons in loaf. So we do it 3 times a year. I can do it there, but you're kind of compromised. Not only facilities but also the time. They don't have the time to see the whole process through.